Hi everyone, it's Harry here from Year 13 and I have Monica and James here with me on behalf of Accenture Australia Adelaide office. Welcome Monica and James, it's great to have you on board the Year 13 Expo this year.
Hi everyone.
Before we start, I'd love to just get a bit of a background about each of you, what your post-school journey was, what you may have studied or certificates you may have done leading up to your roles at Accenture. So starting with you, Monica, what was your post-school journey?
Yeah, sure. So mine was a little bit interesting because I didn't really know what I wanted to do outside of school. I remember in year 12, my subjects were really varied. I did everything from Italian to ancient history and then to IT and business. So from there, I figured that IT and business would be sort of the logical way to go. Neither of those are going anywhere. So I went to uni and I started off doing a Bachelor of IT. But I found it was a little bit too heavy on the technical side of things. So from that, I transferred into a Bachelor of Business, which specialises in information strategy and management. So that was sort of half business, half IT, and I think a lot more suited to my skill set. And then as part of completing the Bachelor, I had to gain experience through an internship. And the way I got my internship was a little bit different again. So rather than going through the uni, my now boss reached out to me on LinkedIn, offering a grad position. But I just said that, I'm not actually graduated yet, but I am looking for an internship. So that's sort of how I got through to Accenture. Did the internship for 3 months, then got kept on, got my place sort of extended for a few months. And then about 6 months after that, then I gained a full-time sort of permanent position in Accenture as an analyst.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. So quite a traditional journey from school to university, internship, and then that was your foot in the door. Okay, cool. Yep. And how about you, James?
So English and maths were the main subjects that really helped me get into it, as well as maybe digital technologies and some of the sciences, but you could basically get in any one, really. Great.
That's good to know that school, some of those soft skills at school prepare you for your role, outside of either university or some of those TAFE courses. Now over to you, Monica. What does a day in the life of your role look like?
Yeah, sure. So as an analyst, my team is called the Applications Outsourcing Team. So we work with Oracle Cloud software we've got clients across Australia and New Zealand. And basically we implement, customize, and then later on support this cloud software solution for our clients. So that's sort of the technical side of my work, is doing that sort of customization and support work. But outside of that, I'm also a client delivery lead for a few accounts as well. And that's a lot more sort of client facing and requires a lot of those soft skills that we touched on earlier. Just maintaining the relationship and having meetings and, seeing where everything's sort of progressing. And then on top of that, I also love business intelligence and sort of working with data and analytics. So I also create sort of custom reports and dashboards for the internal team.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot.
Bit of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to get experience in, early on in your career. You'll be able to, I imagine as the time goes on, you'll find an area that you'd like to specialize in, and that's maybe the path you go down. Unless you'll be spinning plates forever.
That's right. Well, that's probably one of my favorite things about my role, is that every day is different. I get to try new things. There's just a lot of variety in my tasks.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, and how about you, James? What's the day in the life of your role look like?
So for us, depending on our day, we'll either be at work for the whole day, part lead for the day, or full day at TAFE. So it can split up between when we have our TAFE sessions either online or physically, or when we don't have TAFE and we're just working on our general work, which currently is on vulnerabilities, but we could be doing really anything as long as we're trying to work together as a team and what our lead person is put us onto.
Great. Okay. Awesome. So you're able to manage both your TAFE requirements from a study point of view and also your team and job kind of requirements via Accenture. And so your team leader helps you kind of work through the workload and manage both. Is that correct?
So yeah, we're also split up into, our whole team is split up into two groups. So one group is usually at TAFE at one time, and one is the other, and we try and make sure that we've got one team always working. So if we can, we try and do that, but we're not always able to because TAFE has their own schedule and Accenture has their own schedule. So
of course,
we just meld together and work as best we can.
And even that itself is a great opportunity for you to learn things that happen in the real world and later in your career, that sometimes the timing doesn't work, and there is an opportunity for you to think on your feet and go, right, these two things don't exactly meet, but how can we solve this problem? So that in itself is a good opportunity. So, both of you, I'll probably start with you, Monica, in your role, currently, both in its own capacity, but also its position in the broader tech industry. What gives you satisfaction, working at Accenture and also working in the tech industry?
Yeah, sure. So I think satisfaction in my role, which could probably go, across any role. I sort of have three non-negotiables. So the first one is working with a really, really good team. And my team's heard me say this, 1,000 times about how amazing they are. The collaboration and communication and support that's within that team is just absolutely incredible. I remember from the first day, I never felt by myself, or that, I couldn't get help if I needed it. Mm-hmm. So that's given me a lot of satisfaction to be part of a team that's really, really caring. And I think, in terms of sort of career-based satisfaction, I think I'm still sort of learning the impact that tech can sort of have, especially like within the Oracle Cloud space. I think when you're first starting, and you're presented with a problem, you sort of look at it just from the technical aspect of, like, this feels broken. I just need it to work. It just needs to work. So, yeah. Without taking a step back and realizing the impact that sort of has on the client. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. So there's the team, which is, you're working with these people for 30 to 40 hours a week. Also the support, especially in one of the more introductory and junior roles, you need that kind of assistance sometimes to be able to further your own skills. And then again, I can see your kind of interest in the tech industry, where there are these major systems that support us, and that sometimes the client's like, why isn't it working? I need it to be fixed. And you love that kind of problem solving and, how can we make this better for them? That's great. Okay. So James, how about you? What gives you satisfaction in your role, be it your role at Accenture or your kind of time studying at TAFE? And what do you most enjoy about the tech industry?
So for me, both at TAFE and at work, I enjoyed a lot of that learning and in general, just the technology side itself, especially where we get to try stuff out while we're working and still have that sort of freedom where we're learning on the job. So if we make a mistake, we at least learn from it and try and fix our mistakes before we get into a full-time job after TAFE and uni as such. Because as I say, coming out of high school, you're only used to school where you don't get that experience of work. Like, you may have a week's worth of work experience, but in general, you don't get that full experience without actually knowing where everything fits in the real world. And having that area of like half school but half work is like, it helps build your character strength, especially if you, for example, haven't ever had a job before, in which in my case, I've never had a job until this time.
Absolutely. That's a really, really good point. We do at school, we're supported and we're incubated by like the education system and our teachers. And the fact that you've had an opportunity to go one step further than that, and with the Accenture traineeship, you're still in the real world working, but you still get access to the support from your team leader, but also your opportunity to develop those skills via TAFE. And then I guess one step beyond that is where Monica's at in the full kind of professional working environment, where it's now kind of, business and client solutions. So James, I can see you're in a fantastic position right there to, foster those skills and really learn about what it takes to apply yourself in that fully corporate or fully kind of full-time job environment. So it's good to know that you're in that position. Now, back to you, Monica. I'm just thinking about what you notice about yourself and what personal attributes you possess that have helped you succeed to getting where you are today, but also help you exceed in your current role as an analyst.
Yeah, sure. Well, I can tell you that from the get-go it was not my technical skills. And don't get me wrong, I mean, those have come later. So I am now Oracle Learning Cloud certified. So I was able to do some study sort of during work hours and after work hours to get that certification.
Right.
But initially it was really just going back to those soft skills, especially communication skills, that willingness to learn and try new things, try different things. Problem solving skills, definitely, because that's all we do all day is solve client problems, and just being driven and determined to keep trying new things and thinking out of the box until something works.
Fantastic. It's again that kind of opinion. It like tears down that conception about the tech industry being really hard to crack into. It's all code or website development or software. But at the end of the day, it's, do you have a great work attitude? Can you present yourself well? Do you have the soft skills that can work in a team? And then, as you said, the opportunities arise themselves, to do on-the-job training. You were able to become, was it Oracle Cloud certified whilst being at Accenture? Yeah, great. So it wasn't that daunting. Oh God, I'm missing all these technical skills. They come later on. So that's comforting to know.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I also think that sometimes employers, or definitely Accenture, prefer that sort of clean slate because there's no unlearning. You sort of start from scratch, and then they can show you, their way from, the get-go. Interesting.
Okay, and I imagine, James, you could probably attest to that. What personal attributes do you possess that kind of help you in your current traineeship, but also allow you to excel and succeed at TAFE?
So for me, just in general, having the soft skills where working as a team, we may not always work together, but just trying to fit in as much as you can, as well as communication skills. Because as you say, if you're trying to communicate with a partner or someone outside of Accenture, even as on the side where you're making an application, you need to be able to communicate well with other people. Though there are other ways to get around this, where you can have other people speak on behalf of you, or there are all sorts of skills you could have that will fit in, and there's so many different areas that you just can't choose. Basically, anyone with skills, even if it's technical or non-technical, would be able to get into a tech job in some sense, in some way, shape, or form. There are writing document types, and there are testing types of jobs.
Yeah, fascinating. It's good to speak with two people in the industry that can confirm that tech itself isn't just tech. It's not just the technical side of things. There's the customer service side. There's the, obviously the analysis side as well. But everything, it's nice to know that you've both had an experience that isn't purely just a technical understanding side, and it's allowed you both to develop those other soft skills you have, which is great. Now, thinking about, this could be previous to Accenture or, whilst you've been studying, I'm looking to hear about your achievements or major challenges you've faced. So, Monica, any big achievements, since school to now, or any big challenges you've faced whilst being at Accenture?
I think for me, it was definitely just the technical side, like coming into the role and having not even heard of Oracle, to be completely honest. That felt quite daunting. So it was just the day in, day out learning. I think especially the first 6 months was actually quite mentally draining because every little thing was new. And then on top of that, you're coming into a workforce, it might be for the first time. So not only are you thinking about how to do your job, but it's all the other, little things around the office as well. So I think just overcoming the first 6 months and now being at a point where I can actually help clients, and I do have a bit of technical background to help out with that, has probably been the biggest achievement.
Great. I can see that, I can personally comment on those first 6 months of getting a job. No matter what you do, it's hard to prepare you for that, to work in an office environment, to understand the nuances of team meetings and hierarchies and team members and things. So it is always kind of, you can probably comment that it gets better. It's not, you get over it, and there's it's quite a achievement to be able to get through that first 6 months to a year and feel like I'm now an employee. I'm not just the new guy, and the technical skills, what before, looking back before you started at Accenture, are there any of those technical skills you think you could have explored a bit? So it could be Google Analytics, it could be any sort of online courses, online training courses that could have prepared you for that technical side a bit more?
Yeah, well, I mean, during uni, I did, because I started in the Bachelor of IT, so I did have a little bit of coding experience. So we did like Python, Java, and SQL.
Mm-hmm.
And I still use SQL in my job today, which I never thought I'd say, because to be honest, at uni, I hated it.
Okay.
But I think when you put something into sort of a real world scenario, it can change a little bit. Like your thoughts can definitely change on that. But yeah, I think if you're interested in more the analytics side, just dabbling in a couple different things, I think definitely practical experience is the best way to expose yourself and know whether you like something or not, because it's very different in theory. Yeah,
you're right. Once you get into the real world and apply things in a real scenario, real context, it does change. And how about you, James? What have been your biggest achievements, either through your certificates or in your current traineeship or your current study at TAFE, and any massive challenges you've experienced?
So for me, since I've only just come out of school, there hasn't really been much challenges to do inside the workplace. But for me, because I hadn't had a job before, actually going to work and everything was a big challenge for me at the start. And for me, having the 4 certifications helped a little bit because I knew adult training already.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing for me is I've completed all 3 of my Duke of Edinburgh awards and my Queen Scout award back at school, and they really helped me a lot with the socializing as well, socializing and the steps to trying to help out or to get to understand some of the workplace type areas that you need to know. Because my certifications I completed before were through my hobbies activities through Scouts Australia.
Okay, great. So it is that, as Monica said before, it's that routine and getting used to the 9 to 5 kind of work format. And again, some of those skills you learned, soft skills and social skills through school, and also some of your Scout courses really helped you. So that's good to know that, you've overcome that challenge and you're going to prosper from here on out. Now, knowing this, you've both had the experience of leaving school, thinking about what you want to study, thinking about what career you'd like to take. What advice would you give to those individuals in the same position that you were, 1 or 2 years ago? What advice would you give to those students thinking about a career in tech?
I would say, just first of all, don't be afraid to try something new or something different that you might not have originally thought that you liked, because there's so many different options. You sort of just have to start somewhere, and then you can navigate your way towards what you think you will enjoy, or try different things on the way, work out what you do and don't enjoy, and sort of align your career path that way. But yeah, I think just start somewhere and don't close yourself into a certain, one particular job title or role, because in tech, I think you're going to be working, across a lot of different projects, and trying so many different things, just because it's so broad.
That's great advice. And it's that age-old saying of, especially when you're younger and starting out, take every opportunity you get given. Sometimes you will be faced in a job where you've been asked to do something that's not really your job. It's not technically what you're required to do in your job description, but take every opportunity to try this, help out here, help out there, because A, it broadens your skill set, and B, it makes you a team player, and you show commitment and loyalty to the organization. So that's great advice, Monica, that just grab every opportunity, that's in front of you. And the tech industry is so fluid, and skills do transfer. So it's good to know that you're not just pigeonholed into particular areas. And how about you, James? For those, I know you've only recently left school, but for those students who are 1 or 2 years behind you, who are still in school, just about to finish, what advice would you give to them? Is it kind of look at those certificates while you're, just finishing, or is it, something about trying to get into a traineeship at an organization such as Accenture?
So for me, I'd say choose your pathway, there are so many choices in the tech industry that you could go anywhere. And I'd say try as much as you can, go to as many socialized events, networking events, try everything. And even if you're a lady, if you're on the spectrum, anyone can join tech. It's not limited to just geeks, as they would say back in the day. It's available to everyone, and anyone can do. There's so many aspects of the jobs both in Accenture and in the tech industry. There's so many ways you could get in and just enjoy yourself. There's data and compliance, software engineering, computer science, all these areas. It's all waiting for you. Just make sure you network, build your networks up, because that is the most important thing to getting a job in the end, is a network. Even in uni, in TAFE, even now, go in schools, go to events, join as many clubs as you can and build on it together, because otherwise it gets a little bit hard in Adelaide. But even then, just enjoy yourself and study hard. Make sure you study, because if you don't get the position you want to go for, still try another, but you may miss out on an area that you may have enjoyed if you didn't get the grades. And make sure you get your prerequisites for your subjects if you're trying to go for a uni position. As even if you aren't able to get into the number of your ATAR, there are pathways that the unis can take, but it is really important to try and get your prerequisites, to get in early and get it going.
Wow, James, what a response. That is, you hit the nail on the head. Preparation, do your study, think about what was required for particular courses being a prerequisite, but, or failing that, there's great pathway opportunities available. Network, with your social kind of groups, but also in a professional sense. And also understand that tech is not limited to one type of person. There's, no matter who you are, no matter what limitations you may put upon yourself, there is an opportunity for you in the tech industry. So that's really, really comforting to know. Now, I'll ask you another question, James, just while you're on a roll, your plans for the future. So I know you're currently in your traineeship and you're doing TAFE, but I think you've got aspirations to go to university. Is that correct?
Yes. So I would like to, in the end, after my 2 years of training here, I'd like to see if I can keep my job here at Accenture while at uni. I'd like to continue doing that, but either study a course of either Bachelor in Computer Science or Cybersecurity or in Software Engineering.
Beautiful. They're three high growth areas. So I wish you all the best in your pursuits in your tertiary education. And how about you, Monica? What are your plans for, let's say the next 5 years?
Yeah, sure. I think to be completely honest, I haven't thought heaps far into the future because I'm still in the process of trying new things and discovering exactly where I want to align for the next 5 years. So I think I'm just still going to keep on having a go at each opportunity that presents itself. However, I have really been enjoying the client-facing side of my role. So I'm definitely going to be striving for gaining some larger clients as a client delivery lead.
Great. Fantastic. It's good to know that you're able to, as you mentioned at the start of the webinar, you're able to do the technical side, but you've also got the responsibility of your client relations. So it's good to know that you're going to go down that path. It's fantastic. Okay. Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. You've both been absolutely brilliant in detailing some of your personal experiences, shining some light on the, often misunderstood tech industry, and also outlining the raft of possibilities available to all walks of life across the really broad and rapidly growing tech industry. I can't thank you both enough for your time, and of course, I'd like to thank Accenture, the South Australia office, for providing us this opportunity to speak with you both. It's been brilliant. So again, Monica and James, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.